All right, hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are back taking a look at the tropics. Today is Monday, August 30th, 2021. This is your evening tropical update. Well, we get ready to say goodbye to Ida, currently over the southeast U.S. tonight, producing very heavy rain as she moves northward. And we say hello to the rest of the tropics, which are still pretty active. We have a new tropical storm, and Tropical Storm Kate pretty much getting wrecked by wind shear, but it's trying to hold on. And then we have an area to watch moving off the coast of Africa. This should develop quickly into a tropical storm, and then from there a hurricane by late week. And then we also have an area in the Western Caribbean, which we'll have to watch late this week. But right now, it doesn't appear anything similar to what Ida did, but we're going to keep an eye on it anyway. So, last advisory on tropical depression Ida, currently over southwest Mississippi. 5 p.m. from the National Hurricane Center. Maximum sustained winds down just 35 miles an hour. The storm finally wound down today, moving north-northeast at 9 miles an hour. This has been handed off to the Weather Prediction Center and the National Weather Service. The Hurricane Center will no longer be putting out advisories for it since there's no chance of any tropical reformation. It's pretty much, a inland rainfall threat now, which is still pretty significant. This is the evening radar shot. You see the center tonight over western Mississippi and a heavy rain shield extending into northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, parts of Georgia. You got a little kind of a warm front thunderstorm line moving into Tennessee. More heavy rain will move in there tonight. And this is generally going to track up north and east, and a lot of heavy rain coming over the next couple of days. Weather Prediction Center's official forecast for rainfall still to come, anywhere from 2 to 6 inches for a wide swath of this region. But then look how much rain expected for Pennsylvania and the Virginias and Maryland. Could be 8 to 10 inches of rain for some folks. I mean, there are some pretty heavy rainfall totals as it's going to start getting mashed up with this cold front that's going to be draped across the area. Tropical moisture on the backside of high terrain and being pushed by a cold front, that's a recipe for some really strong flash flooding. I tell you, folks in Pennsylvania and in this region here, y'all really need to watch this on Wednesday. I mean, tomorrow, yeah, folks in Tennessee, some of y'all locally are getting some pretty heavy rainfall, some flash flooding, no doubt. But y'all in Pennsylvania and the Virginias and stuff like that, northern, that is a bad setup, and that might be a pretty big concern. So, Weather Prediction Center carrying at least a moderate rainfall outlook through Thursday for at least a 20% chance of excessive rainfall that leads to flash flooding. So, pretty serious flooding situation with Ida still to come. You got to be paying attention inland. Look at your weather, your local forecast, your local National Weather Services, your TV guys, whatever you get for your weather. Please keep an eye on that on Tuesday and especially Wednesday up there. If you're driving around, don't drive through flooded waters. It's not worth it, and all that stuff. Because I'm telling you, these always get underestimated, and then it's like, oh crap, we got all this rain. Where'd it come from? I mean, a lot of tropical cyclones own state rainfall records well away from where they made landfall. So just keep that in mind. Tornadoes also going to be a bit of an issue. Storm Prediction Center, no watches tonight, but carrying at least a slight risk of severe thunderstorms through Thursday or through at least Wednesday. At marginal to slight risk with the threat of tornadoes, mostly on that southeast side of the storm, where those outer bands are kind of mixing in with the regular weather, and you can still get some tornadoes from that. Wind gusts wrapping up Ida. My gosh, the wind gusts were amazing. 172 miles an hour is the winner in Port Fourchon, where, I mean, I can't imagine the damage. I don't know how many people have gotten down there. I don't know if people even can yet, but incredible wind gust totals. Just 172 miles an hour. This is actually taken by a ship in the port that actually did observe this. This is real. The question is the 149 mile an hour sustained wind actually valid or not? I mean, this is amazing to see a sustained wind or even a wind gust 172. I mean, this is one of the highest wind gusts ever recorded by an instrument in U.S. history. Because, I mean, we are confident this much wind and much higher winds have been recorded or observed, but we don't ever get to actually see it on instrumentation because it always breaks or fails or blows away or gets covered in flood water. To actually see this verified this well is amazing, and this is definitely something the National Hurricane Center will look at when they go back and write the final report on Ida. So amazing stuff there. Some of the other totals, 110 in New Orleans in a metro area. I mean, people got to remember the difference in this and this and this is incredible, and it's magnitudes. I mean, 79 mile an hour wind gust is magnitudes more damaging than a 54 is. It's not a direct, 1 to 1 to 1. Then that 110 New Orleans is magnitudes and magnitudes more than that 79 is. So this is pretty amazing damage, and this is why there's so much destruction, is how incredible Ida's winds were as the storm moved ashore. Rainfall lived up to billing. A lot of folks in New Orleans saw 10 to 15 inches of rain. Is verified quite well. But look how far the rain extended, all the way into parts of Pensacola, where totals, were 8 to 10 inches. I mean, this wasn't just at the southeast Louisiana coast, like we said. Impacts from these storms always extend to the right really far, while that right side moisture comes up. But look how fast the left side. I mean, Morgan City got 2 or 3 inches of rain because the storm kind of turned and went like that. But to the right, it was a pretty amazing rainfall event. And cleanup just beginning. Pretty bad situation. Donations are always appreciated, and just it's gonna be a long time, long cleanup. There's a lot of power outages. I mean, I'll leave most of that to the news. I haven't heard a lot about deaths yet. I mean, that's kind of not my thing, but it's going to be a bad one in Louisiana, guys. And we probably still haven't even seen the full extent of the damage. There's a lot of spotty cell phone signals and things like that. And a lot of people who were through the worst haven't been able to get their message out yet. It's going to be bad in the days to come. So just keep it in mind that this was a bad hit, and these Category 4 hurricanes are no joke at all. But we have to go back and look at the rest of the tropics tonight, where we have two other areas of interest. We have this wave off the coast of Africa, now to a 70% chance to develop in the next 2 days, and almost certain to develop in the next 5 days. There's been really strong model signal from this really big honking trough. We'll get to that in just a second, but I just want to show you Kate's forecast real quick in case you were curious. Poor little thing is going to get wrecked by wind shear and be a tropical depression tomorrow. Back to a storm on Thursday, Friday, so that's cool. But no threat to land and not even to Bermuda. This will stay out to sea. No big deal. We look at the satellite presentation of our African easterly wave tonight, and boy, it is a impressive thing, and a lot of convection really starting to concentrate to the south of the wave axis, which is broad, and there's a broad cyclonic rotation in here, but it looks like we're starting to consolidate something now, so this is a sign that our wave is developing, and I think we'll have something sooner than later. Water vapor satellite imagery shows that not a whole lot else going on. There's a little bit of dry air out ahead of it, but that's a pretty good ways out. Not too much dry air in front of it or on top of it, so it's got a pretty good little pocket with warm water and generally favorable conditions. And the only problem this wave might have is it is pretty far south. Generally, anything south of 10 degrees north has a kind of a hard time getting enough spin to get started. But I think this wave will be able to figure it out. The future of this wave kind of depends on how it forms. GFS has an interesting solution. The GFS, as we go into tomorrow evening, has that broad, that where we saw the consolidation of the vortex down there, but it also kind of has this broad axis really leaning back. But as we go into like Friday, it actually spawns a second tropical cyclone. It has like two storms developing at the same time within this broad envelope of rotation. So we'll see if that plays out, because that is in direct comparison to the European model, which just goes full on with this southerly route and develops a hurricane pretty quick probably by Friday. The Euro has pretty much got a hurricane on station out in the middle of the central Atlantic. So the good news about a storm like this is often they do turn. This is the ensemble models for the system. We'll start with just the zoomed in ones. And you can see there is high confidence in the ensembles that this will begin to make a recurve well before the Antilles and before the Caribbean. That's pretty common historically. Storms that form really fast off Africa, typically your hurricanes actually impact, us and the Caribbean and whatnot will stay waves for several days, and they'll develop like somewhere in here or somewhere in here. Waves that just form as soon as they hit the water off the coast generally want to move north. The more the storm is developed, the more a hurricane naturally wants to turn towards the poles. So it takes a lot of weird patterns to push something this far west. It happens. I mean, Florence, Irma were some long tracking storms the last couple of years. We've also had Lorenzo and Teddy, which are Category 4s and 5s that just stayed out to sea. The only issue with this storm is looking ahead at the large-scale weather pattern. This is the European model's 500 millibars chart. This is generally the level that will steer hurricanes through Friday morning. And pretty big high pressure system out here all of a sudden. What we would call an omega block with two lows kind of flanking the high. It's not a full one, but it's kind of an omega block. And this is interesting because if we go back even a day on the model, this is yesterday evening's model, had much weaker steering out here, which means the storm was more likely to turn as you went into the weekend. This trough was going to come down and pick it up. But, now we've got this much stronger high pressure. This is probably going to go a bit further west before it can turn north. Now, it's not going to go so far west that it comes into like Florida or something, but if I lived in Bermuda or in the New England region, I would be keeping an eye on this or northern New England rather, because you start going out to Monday and yeah, there's a pretty strong trough. It's going to eventually make this thing turn, but it could become uncomfortably close to like Atlantic Canada, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Bermuda. It's going to go further west than the models currently think. They're going to catch up to this pattern change. So worth keeping an eye on. But for right now, not a big threat. But it will be a pretty impressive hurricane out here by then. So my favorite are the ones that stay out to sea and I can look at them and ooh and ah, but I don't have to actually, worry about them hitting land. So that's going to be on the menu this week, and we'll have time to watch it. We'll also be having watching haven't watched and have time to watch the area in the Caribbean Hurricane Center tonight, just giving this a 20% chance the next 5 days and nothing in the next couple days. So they are leaning late week with this. This is Thursday into Friday where we can see the GFS is spawning some kind of low pressure down here near the Yucatan. But there's a very different weather pattern setting up. There's a large high pressure over the Gulf Coast, and this was not here during Ida. So it looks like high pressure is going to control the Gulf Coast region throughout the start of the week. And whatever's down here is probably going to fester for several days. So GFS kind of shows as well. This is Thursday, Friday, into Saturday. And by Friday morning, you see a strong high pressure at 500 millibars controlling this region. So whatever is developing down here is probably going to be squished for a couple days. The kind of outlier is, late in the week, there is some chance of a trough over Florida, and maybe this wants to try to pull this to the north and west. I think if this, or north and east, if this system developed more than we think and develops faster, Florida, especially South Florida and Southwest Florida, might want to keep an eye on this. Um, but it's kind of out there. And the other option is it kind of festers for a couple days, maybe goes into the Bay of Campeche and in Mexico and stays weak. Or, if we go out far enough where this high sort of relents, maybe it would have a window here, like middle of next week, to start pulling northward. So I think everyone down here needs to keep an eye on this, but we got a lot of time to watch it. And I wouldn't be worried about it yet because this is no Ida. This is not Ida part two. The weather pattern and the general setup is not the same. It does not look nearly as conductive, a lot messier, and you're out of the phase of the MJO where this region would really be under the gun. That phase 2, phase 3 versus like 4 will be going into. So worth keeping an eye on, not the end of the world. So watch our guy off the coast. We'll keep tracking Ida throughout the middle of the week, and we'll watch this towards the weekend, but no immediate threats right now, which is good news after Ida gets out. So thoughts and prayers to the people in New Orleans and Louisiana and the rest of this as poor towns, especially those small ones that aren't getting the media coverage they probably need to get. And look out for that flooding, and we'll track the other tropical threats as they come through the week. So until then, stay safe. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.